The Russian president has vowed to push further into Ukraine.
Ukraine, another major challenge in these United States.
That Russia is preparing a new offensive against Ukraine.
Welcome to Live Economic News. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Get ready because we're about to embark on one of the most compelling stories of our era. Vladimir Putin's audacious move into Ukraine. Can you even believe the nerve, really? Hey, that's why you came, isn't that right? To decipher this geopolitical thriller's twists and turns. Imagine this. This kind of massive battle hasn't occurred in Europe since World War II. And what do you know? We are experiencing it. How wonderful to be on the verge of history. I realize you've undoubtedly read hundreds of feeds about Ukraine, but get comfortable, we're going to mix things up. We are delving deeper into the dark rivers of thinking and history rather than just skimming the surface. Prepare for an analytical roller coaster. But let's go back a little bit first. Do you recall the Soviet Union waving goodbye in the late 1980s and early 1990s? The globe shuddered following the split. Nations like Ukraine emerged unexpectedly, flying their own flags and pursuing their own objectives. On the other hand, Russia was pushed towards capitalism before the term perestroika was established. You can probably predict what happens next. Yes, as you predicted, the PUA got well. You know the story. The affluent grew richer. It was a mess and corruption when Russian millionaires were essentially in charge of everything. Yes, that was the usual. Now for Boris Yeltsin, the man who sparked the large-scale protests. And who did you think came to the rescue? None other than Vladimir Putin, our hero who rides a horse without a shirt. But there's still more. Putin not only took command, but also pulled Russia back from the precipice. The economy recovered. But what about living standards? They did, however, not climb as high as Putin's friends did. The worst part is this now. Putin has been a chess player with NATO from the beginning. NATO, also called the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was intended to be a cordial handshake between countries. Really, though, it's more akin to a Cold War stalemate. NATO is saying to Russia, hey, don't even think about it. Meanwhile, Putin is like, watch me, folks, this is a showdown, and you're in the front row. Gorbachev, the president of Russia at the time, is said to have made an agreement with the US when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. NATO would not move further east. It sounds simple, doesn't it? False. Both sides are making accusations faster than you can say Cold War, and there is no written evidence to support them. Who is being truthful? Beats me. The shocking thing is that nations were still lining up to join NATO, bringing the alliance all the way to Russia. Putin would have none of it. He showed out Russia's power in 2008 when Georgia, yes, the nation, not the US state, made hints about wanting to join NATO. And so began a 12-day skirmish that left hundreds dead and dashed Georgia's hopes of joining NATO. Let's fast forward to 2014, the tipping point for Ukraine. As Ukrainians desired greater links with the EU, civil turmoil escalated to a fever pitch. Putin was not happy, to put it mildly. After everything had settled, Ukraine had a new government. But Putin was not going to allow his neighbor to escape his control. And that's only the very beginning, people. Putin continues to play global chess like a master strategist in the ongoing tale of NATO. Will NATO draw a line in the sand, or will Ukraine give in to Putin's pressure? Hold on tight, this journey is far from over. People, fasten your seatbelts, because we are going to see a military operation that will rock the globe. Putin, who has always been a brilliant strategist, didn't lose time. Crimea is supporting you. Since then, Ukraine has been advancing toward NATO, exercising its economic might and playing the democratic card. Stirring the pot, huh? Putin isn't overly happy about this. Russia is flexing its muscles at the border as if it's armed day every day, while Ukraine is obstructing Russian trade lines. And that, my friends, is what gets us all attached to the moment of confrontation. But there's still more. In order to comprehend Putin's chess moves, we must take a closer look at Mother Russia. Imagine an oil and gas-driven economy that is expanding, coupled with a military that is growing quicker than your favorite action figure. Putin possesses an army of 1 million soldiers, which gives him a lot of power, despite the fact that some of them are being drafted more quickly than you can say Putin's playbook. The worst part is that Russia is about more than just power struggles. Whoa, it's under the control of a few billionaires with more influence than a summer heat wave. These tycoons build empires in addition to wealth. If you disagree with the story, you can wind up with a police baton in your face or worse. Ask Navalny, the courageous attorney who dared to oppose Putin's dictatorship. He was met with comfortable prison cells and attempts at assassination. Let's move on from Russia's dubious activities and discuss the invasion of Ukraine, which has shocked the entire world. Imagine this. In an effort to denazify Ukraine, planes, tanks, and bewildered youngsters are storming borders. Indeed, Putin is pulling that card, saying he's the hero in a Nazi-occupied country. Warning: there is a Jewish president of Ukraine, and far-right groups are not really the major attraction. Ukraine has demonstrated its capabilities around the globe since the invasion. Leading the charge is President Zelensky, who has balls of steel that will make history books blush. And how fiercely they are charging. With help coming in from all over the world, Ukraine has developed into a stronghold that is well-equipped and prepared to take on the Russian assault. But make no mistake, people, this is a struggle not merely on the battlefield, but also an ideological and willpower test. And as the rest of the world gasps, Ukraine remains a shining example of resistance to Putin's despotism. The economic battlefield is as brutal as it is among the male. More than ever, Russia is feeling the heat from the crippling sanctions. Imagine banks being denied access to the SWIFT system, millionaires having their assets seized before you can say churching, and Russian media being shut down outside of their country. This is a completely different world, and Putin is feeling the heat. Russia's economy is in ruins as private businesses are escaping like rats from a sinking ship. Social media sites, tech behemoths, and even Mickey Mouse are putting on his ears and moving on. Not to be forgotten is the most devastating blow of all, Pornhub bidding Russia farewell. Here's the real deal, though. Putin is not a moron. I'll wager that although he was aware of the dangers, he didn't anticipate that everyone would turn against him like a swarm of wolves. Similar to a terrible breakup, but on a worldwide level. What is the conclusion of this grand story? Warning: this is not good for Putin. The invasion is an international and domestic PR nightmare. Russian soldiers are dealing with the brutal reality of battle after being thrust into combat as naive youths. And those that were apprehended, let's just say that back home, they're not exactly praising Putin. It's a story of hardship back in Russia. In the meantime, the average person is most severely impacted by the sanctions aimed at Putin's inner circle, their wallets. Protests are building like a storm on the horizon. Businesses are closing left and right, and the ruble is plummeting. What will Putin's great adventure involve next? This roller coaster is far from over, so fasten your seatbelts because the twists and turns are coming fast. People, the storm clouds are building and the weather is not looking good. In Ukraine, it seems like it's only getting started. The streets are dangerous and the stores are empty. What about in Russia? Let's just say that Putin is going to have to face reality like never before. The Russian populace is now able to see through the smoke and mirrors after falling for official misinformation. You can blame them for being tired. Putin's hold on power is loosening more quickly than a lightning bolt lubricated. Once loyal personnel in the military are beginning to realize that Putin prioritizes power over their lives. What about those billionaires? They did not gather fortunes only to see them vanish into thin air. The worst part is that terror can only exert its power for so long. Once unbreakable, Putin's reign of terror is beginning to falter. Not only are revolutions lessons in history, but they are also whispers on the wind that get louder with every cry of discontent. And what is Putin's endgame? Our two hypotheses are both correct, but one thing is for sure. The era of unchecked power is drawing to an end. It's possible that the Russian Revolution is over, but change is a reluctant passenger, my friends. Thus, one thing is certain: as uncertainty looms and the world hangs its breath, Putin's fall is only beginning. What happens next? That's a tale for the ages. Then, outrow, let us march into the unknown as a group, unified in purpose and conviction. Because the spirit of freedom and the flame of hope cannot be extinguished in the furnace of struggle where the destiny of countries is at stake. Slava the Ukrainian. Ukraine, glory! We hope you found our insights valuable and informative. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest developments.